Shalom. First thing and foremost, somebody of all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect. News in the gospel abroad, lifting up the standard of Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, wherever it may be. This is another lesson through the Spirit. This is from Natural News. It says the lights are going out. America's failing grid is pushing us towards off-grid solutions. As we know that we're currently in an energy crisis, with certain states are being at risk of water shortages, water outages, fucking water contaminations, and of course they're blaming it on Iran, and they claim that they don't have any particular traces as to who's attacking these water infrastructures, which, you know, I find that hard to believe, because for the simple fact, how in the hell you have all this technology through these Palantir type systems, and at the same time, you mean to tell me you don't know who's hitting your infrastructure? I remember they used the same sentiment maybe 3 years ago when they was having all those cyber attacks. They was claiming that they didn't know who was doing it when they was attacking the DHS and the particular government infrastructure, like the Social Security Administration, when all these records were leaked. But they somehow, some way, they couldn't trace it to who the fuck was doing it. But yet, you run a red light, they're coming and track you down and give you a $200 ticket because you got what they call flock cameras, which is all over the damn place. Esau's full of shit, you know, but nonetheless, the prophecies are speaking, man. Okay? So, it says lights are out in America, and this is from that guy, Mike Adams, which, you know, he's a pure Edomite, pure blood Edomite, homestead, patriotic, you know, devil that believes in the Constitution, which your Constitution has been dead, bro. All right, now, I mean, he gives out good information, and he keeps it, 100 on a lot of cases, like the elder brother Muwatazak was going into the other day. He was on a podcast with Alex Jones, or like the Alex Jones show, because, they booted Alex Jones off the air, YouTube. But he was basically going into how UYNs are going to be basically slaughtered here in the streets of America. And, hey, I can't do nothing but agree. But see, he had that, well, we're going to go off the grid, homestead. Anybody runs up on my property, they're going to catch two to the head, And that's the common mindset of all you Edomites out there that's into prepping and into all this other homestead lifestyle and going off the grid, which none of that is going to save you. Okay, if the Lord is not with you, you can prep, you can run and hide, you can be in a bunker. At the end of the day, if the Heavenly Father is not supping with you and you're not an Israelite, I mean, you pretty much you're on borrowed time. All right, and that's the same for all you devils out there. But it says the lights are going out across America because they're attacking the grid. We're in a time now of the Great Reset. So they're shutting down this current infrastructure, and they're going to gradually introduce the new infrastructure, which is going to be through this AI shit, okay, which the mark of the beast will come about, the RFID chip. That's why they're building up all these surveillance centers, man. So rolling blackouts, energy crisis, water rations, water contamination, all types of stuff, man. Gas outages, you name it. But it says the Department of Energy just issued an emergency order authorizing Southwest Power Pool, Slovakia, Incorporation to use certain energy resources to reduce the risk of potential blackouts. It says the order signed by Energy Secretary Chris Wright spans 17 states and directs the regional grid operator to dispatch generation units beyond normal operating limits and to deploy backup generation as the last resort before declaring an energy emergency alert, which is going to disrupt people's way of living, because 95% of the people in America and just in these modern civilizations, we depend on power, okay? Wash dishes, take a shower, hell, driving your vehicle, all that's based on electricity, because even though you have water meters, you have water pipes, water lines, you have gas lines, most of these things are ran off electricity now, okay? Like when you go down to your sub pump stations at these municipal water centers and so forth that's in your cities, those pumps are being operated through electronic they're being operated off the power grid, man. Okay, nobody's manually pumping the water into the system. These things are being ran off electronic meters. So if the power goes out, your water is going to start running because everything is tied up to the grid. It says this is the same story we've watched for years. Politicians promise to fix the grid. Then the heat arrives and we're all left praying the lights stay on. He says, I'm done for waiting for Washington to solve a problem it created. The grid is broken by neglect, and the neglect is a choice. And it was done intentionally because this is a way of getting you people to bow a knee to this system. Okay, I heard the elder Yashawamba going into the other day that, hell, you may only be able to take a shower one time a day between the hours of 6 a.m. and 12 p.m. And after that, you ain't going to be able to use your water because they're going to ration the water out, meaning they're not going to allow you to run the water, or they're going to tax you to death, or they may just cut you off. And they're doing that kind of now because I'm noticing, too, with these apartment complexes and these developments, they're taxing the water bill onto the customers now. So if you stay in an apartment, it used to be water, sewer, and trash that was paid for by the property management. Now, I was doing some research on it, and basically they said in a roundabout way, and not even a roundabout way, they said that they're doing it to maximize their profits. So basically they're putting what was one considered a courtesy or an amenity by your landlord. Now you're paying for water. It's a shared water program. So depending on your neighbor's usage, you're going to have to pay. So if you using, maybe let's just say if you're using 4 cubits of water and your neighbor may use fucking 40, 50 gallons of water in a night. And they calculate that based on the usage of every apartment, and then they balance it out. So everybody's water bill is going to go up based on 2 individuals, which is, in my opinion, that's some bullshit. Back in the day, you didn't have to pay water, sewer, or trash. Now you're paying for it because they have out of town investors that come in and buy up these properties, and they're looking to maximize profits, which is nothing more but fucking slavery. Why am I paying for water? But it says why the grid keeps failing and why I'm not waiting for Washington. But it says after New York's rolling blackouts and the catastrophic Texas freeze, the establishment promised action, but instead we got more fragility. Texas came with seconds and minutes of disastrous failure that could have resulted in months of total blackouts. And according to our ERCOT-owned president, New York City now suffers blackouts because the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act effectively prohibits construction of new fossil power fuel plants, even natural gas plants, and the old ones are aging and are forbidden to be replaced or upgraded. Yep, they're shutting down all those power plants. I think that was it Trump or was it Biden that shut down the power plants, or was it Obama? Can't recall. But regardless of it, they shut down all these power plants, man. I used to do, when I first moved out here, it was a good-ass job, too. I used to do facility maintenance at one of the power plants out here, and it was good money at the time. I loved it. It was easy work. But it says, and the pattern is everywhere. Federal policies halted offshore wind projects, and AI data centers are tripling power demands and pushing grids past capacity. But PJM Interconnection, the grid operator, serving 67 million people across 13 states, and Washington, D.C. is headed for a catastrophic failure to meet its own operational requirements by June 2027. So, hey, they just going to shut the grid down. Look at what's happening in Cuba. And that's when all of that's when shit really going to turn up. But it says the North American Electric Reliability Corporation has warned that large parts of North America face a heightened risk of blackouts as surging electricity demand from AI data centers outpace grid capacities. And this is why people are attacking these data centers, man. All right. But it says here, climate alarmism. Nope. It says the excuses are always the same. Extreme weather, unexpected demand, unprecedented conditions. But the real cause is decades of deliberate policies, choices that prioritize climate ideology over reliability. But climate alarmism has been all the wrecking ball against American energy. The same ideology that demonizes carbon dioxide has made it politically impossible to build reliable power. Remember that whole going green shit and climate saving, and we're saving energy and reserving energy and the brown papers and all that? That's all folly, bro. Okay, global warming is due to Esau's way of destroying the earth through not properly managing the earth properly. And that's what you have your global warming from. Shooting missiles into the atmosphere, chemtrails, weather programs, all right, geoengineering, all that shit is what's causing a warmer planet and cooler planets in certain parts of the world. It says New York's climate law is the perfect example. It makes natural gas plants illegal while demanding the grid somehow to keep running. The CLPA effectively prohibits construction of new fossil fuel power plants. Even natural gas plants, and the old ones are aging and are forbidden to be replaced or upgraded. The results is exactly what any rational observer would predict: rolling blackouts in the nation's largest city. Okay, so this guy, he's basically a homesteader, man. All right, and he, I'm pretty sure he has property, he has farmland. He's probably sitting on shit. I would suspect that dude probably got a couple of 100 acres. Him and Alex Jones and all these men that you've seen with the podcast and Canadian Prepper, these Steve Ram, these men are sitting on some bank, man. They're sitting easy on 50, 60, 70 to 100 some acres. So what you think they're going to do with that? They're going to protect that. They got the cattle, they got their farms, they got the septic tanks, which a lot of people that live off in a country, they got septic tanks. They on laterals, so to speak. So that technically they don't have a traditional, a traditional sewage system or a waste tank. They have septic tanks, man. And usually there's probably a pond within so many feet away, and it kind of just distributes from that point. And then it flushes out and goes to the river, and then they recycle it. All right. But anyway, this is the book of Psalms 33. And I'm going to start at verses, because, see, you devils, man, you ain't getting away either. So this is the book of Psalms 33 and 16. It says, there's no king saved by a multitude of hosts, and a mighty man is not delivered by much strength. Right. Because, see, Esau, he prides himself on his weapons, his military might, his ability to disguise himself and shoot shit from 200 yards away. That's his blessing. That's a physical blessing. The Lord don't care about that, because, see, what's going to happen is that those marauders, other men and other people with different homesteaders are going to come and attack you. There's going to be a dog-eat-dog world. They even showed that in that movie Homestead. People start turning on one another. Once the provisions are gone and, the cattle are all slaughtered and the meat is no more and the water is low, people going to start killing one another, man. That's how it always is. And it says a horse is a vain thing for safety, neither shall any deliver by any. It says a horse is a vain thing for safety, neither shall he deliver any by his great strength. Right. So it don't matter how many weapons you got, how many horses you have. Okay. How many cases of water you got stored up. Hell, you can have a whole cellar of survivable goods. At the end of the day, that's going to be reserved. Salakia, that's going to be reserved for the elect. It says, behold, the eye of the Lord is upon them that fear him. And none of these people fear Yahweh, shimmy, Hawashai. Only the elect. Upon them that hope in his mercy to deliver their soul from death and to keep them alive in famine. Okay. So we're going to be okay when famine hits, because we are depending on the Heavenly Father to start, showing those miracles. Okay. Those things are going to start happening in a big way, because, see, we ain't going to have the grocery stores and the restaurants and the gas stations to go and get our provisions. But we're going to solely depend on Yahweh, shimmy, Hawashai, man. Okay. You ain't going to be carrying around a tote full of goods and survival shit, This is why we tell brothers it's good to keep like certain things in a vehicle, which, we all could be better about that. You keep a certain bag in a vehicle or certain things, keep a case of water in the car, flashlight, whatever, in case you got to go on foot. But as a collective, man, you might not be able to come back to your house and get anything. Oh, shit, I forgot my gym shoes, or I got to go get my hiking shoes on my staff. When this go down, you're going to have to move around. All right. And it reads, carbon dioxide is not a poison. It is plant food. Yep. It's good for trees, man. Like trees naturally produces it. So therefore, when he's cutting down trees and he has this deforestation program, he's making it naturally hotter, because the trees, they release the carbon. They release the carbon in the air, which helps us to breathe, man. It says every school child learns that plant consumes CO2 and polysynthesis. Yet the climate cult has convinced much of the world that this gas is an existential threat, and that conviction has strangled America's energy infrastructure. It says, as Judith Curry explains, in a climate uncertainty and risk, renewables simply cannot replace reliable generation everywhere. But in densely populated countries like Japan, Bangladesh, Lebanon, South Korea, India, Netherlands, Belgium, Bahrain, and Israel, there's simply not enough sufficient land to support the majority of the energy supply coming from renewables. It says the war on CO2 is a war on abundance itself, and when you make it illegal to build reliable power, you get a power grid that fails, and the American people are paying the price in darkness, and that's the plan. Okay? Going down here, it says the off-grid answer is here, and here's why it matters. Grid-tied solar systems automatically shut down when a grid fails, leaving you in the dark precisely when you need power the most. It says the only reliable option is a fully independent off-grid solar system. And the good news is that the technology has finally arrived. But he says, I'm currently hauling solar panels, rack mountables, lithium, iron phosphate batteries, and a high voltage inverter to build my own off-grid power system in my studio as a demonstration. So he's completely dependent on his own might. And this is what Esau do. You know, and honestly speaking, if I was this dude, I wouldn't be putting this out here, because I guarantee you people know how to find you, bro. But that's Esau. He's not wise. That's why the scriptures say, has wisdom vanished out of Teman? Because if I was doing something like this, you would never know about it. It ain't nobody's business, especially if you got family to protect. All right. So let's look here. Yep. Psalms 34. And let's start at verses 15. It says, the eyes of Yahweh are upon the righteous, and his ears are open unto their cry. The face of the Lord is against them that do evil, to cut out the remembrance of them from the earth. So regardless of it, you people are going to be cooked. If you're not of the elect and you're not under the dominionship of the men of the Lord, then it's safe to say that you're not going to have a good time out here, man. Because once all hell break loose, it's going to be completely chaotic. Okay, this place is going to get chaotic and real fast, man. Okay, the scriptures goes into how, what is that, Isaiah, the 30th chapter, when it goes into how a breaching, like it compares itself to like a dam that's getting ready to be breached, and the flood comes in. That's how judgment is going to take place, because once these stores and so forth run out of food, you're going to see all types of crazy shit happening in the streets, man. It's going to be all types of crimes against, people going to be violated in a worse way, and it's going to be very, very disturbing, to say the least. So while you preparing for your homestead, hey, you better think again. But it says here, the Lord, the righteous cry, and the Lord heareth and delivered them out of all their troubles. It says, for Yahweh is nigh unto them that are of a broken heart, and saving as such to be of a contrite spirit. Many are affliction of the righteous, but the Lord delivered them out of them all. It says he keepeth all his bones, and not one of them should be broken. So, you know, we're going to be all good in that day. All right, we're not going to worry about having a homestead, because at the end of the day, man, it's up to Yahweh Shai, who's going to come through for us. Okay. Psalms 91:3. It says here, surely he should deliver thee from the snare of the fowler and the noisome pestilence, and he should cover thee with his feathers, and under his wings shalt thou trust. His truth should be thy shield and buckler. So those of us that got that wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. It says, thou shalt not be afraid of terror by night, nor for the arrow that fly by day, nor for the pestilence that walk in the darkness. It says, for destruction that wasted at noonday. 1,000 shall fall at thy side, and 10,000 at thy right hand, but it shall not come nigh thee, and there shall no evil befall thee, neither shall any plague come near thy dwelling places. So while you people are packing all this ammo and all this other shit, we gonna call on the name of Yahweh Shai and watch what he do for us. Psalms 37:3. Trust in Yahweh and do good, so shalt thou dwell in the land. But verily thou shalt be fed. It says, verily thou shalt be fed. So we gonna eat. They should not be ashamed in the evil day, and in the days of famine they should be satisfied. But these men, they're worried about losing everything they got, because they're trying to hold on to whatever bit of democracy that they think they have left, or whatever bit of freedom they believe they have left. Your freedoms are gone, man. Okay, hell, they was locking people up for speaking out against protesting against Trump. ICE, people was getting locked up for that shit. But he says lithium iron phosphate batteries are safer and longer lasting than the old lithium lithium-ion chemistry in sodium-ion batteries now, and can match or exceed lithium-ion in key performances categories according to research. It says solar panels have never been cheaper. Energy storage has never been more practical. And I mean, if you got the means to do it, then do it. But these things ain't gonna really. If you're a man in the Lord, you're gonna be good regardless. Energy independence is freedom, but it means no smart meters tracking every watt you consume, and it means no taxation of sunlight, and it means no government agency deciding whether you can keep the lights on. But the U.S. power grid faces numerous vulnerabilities that can lead to catastrophic consequences. And believe it or not, the government, they gonna visit you, bro. And they showed that in that movie Homestead. The government officials, they basically came through, even though they was like marauders, they still acted like they was operating under government authority, but yet they wasn't nothing but a bunch of crooks that wanted the resources. That's crazy, you know. But it says in Nevada, nearly 50,000 residents near Lake Tahoe are set to lose power. Oh, shit. By May 2027 because the utility is redirecting electricity to data centers. It says the grid is not just failing, it is being deliberately reprioritized against families in favor of machines and data centers. And the question is, what are you people going to do about it? Are you going to sit there and complain about it? You going to fucking protest? Or you going to, you're going to take matters into your own hand? Because at this point, there's no talking. At this point, shit, the talking stops, man. It just, you only could tell somebody something so long before you gotta act on shit. And the problem is you people ain't acting on nothing. Okay? You people ain't acting on nothing. You think that writing a letter to your senator or President Trump or Peter Thiel is gonna stop them from making moves on your black ass, on your asses? No. They not, man. They just gonna continue to put you in slavery, and they're gonna continue to railroad you over because you people ain't got no backbones. You're too docile. But it says PJM has already admitted it cannot guarantee reliability. But the Texas came with minutes of a statewide blackout that it could have lasted months. Cuba's grid has faced collapse 5 times in 1 year, and that was done deliberately. Okay, they did that. It says a flashing red warning beacon for what was centralized failure looks like. It says the signs are everywhere, yet most people are still asleep. No, people are just too comfortable at the end of the day. And they don't really care because, it's not really affecting them right now. Okay, the average Babylonian here, they have that mindset of, well, we'll deal with it when it comes. But when it comes, you're not going to deal with it because you're going to get caught off guard. Howard Shai said that. And the Lord is going to visit this place. It says governments and corporations will protect data centers first, not families. And, hey, they already proved that. They already said that anybody that come up against the data centers, they already got certain security measures for that. So that's another thing. It says all available turbines are already committed to big techs for years to come. But it says when the crunch comes, residential customers get cut first. Personal preparedness is not optional, it is survival. But it says electricity is among the most essential sources of America's unparalleled prosperity and productivity, and it's also the greatest vulnerability. So he says, my recommendation is simple. Build your own solar plus battery systems. Everybody don't have those fucking means to do that. Okay, you sound like everybody just got $100,000 in their account, even though solar panels are relatively affordable in some degree. But most people live in apartments, okay? And people are living in houses that they're overpaying in mortgage. They can't afford the shit. So it's easy for you to say when you sitting on 50 to 60 acres and your money is working for you, but you got a person that works a 9 to 5 that's cash strapped. They can't just go out and buy no goddamn $10,000 solar panel, man, or $10,000 generator. It don't work that way, But it says, build your own solar plus battery system, store food and fuel, grow your own food, disconnect from the grill diesel designed to fail. He says, I believe the lights are going to go out, and the only question is whether you will be ready when they do. But right now, you still have time to prepare. But that window of opportunity may not last much longer. See, they trusting in an uncertain guide. All that's good and dandy, but at the end of the day, it's not going to equate to anything. It says plan to be fully off grid by 2029 if you can, or at least have power redundancy. All right. So he gives a bunch of references, of course. Which hey, it is what it is. And I'm going to check out some of these as well because, shit, hey, it's prophecy. But Anyway, let's do this. Esau think everything is just sweet and dandy, but that's not how it is. But let's look at what Yahweh Shai said. Let's go to the book of Luke real quick. Luke 21. And let's go here to start at verses let's start at verses 26. Matter of fact, 25. It says, and there should be signs in the sun, and in the moon, and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations with perplexity, the sea and waves roaring. Yeah, people are perplexed. So everybody is so triggered. You see crash out videos of Edomite women. They don't know how they're going to make ends meet. They can't afford an infant meal. You know, Keisha is unaliving her babies. This world is in, you know, people are feeling a crunch, man. You know, but the men of the Lord, hey, the Lord, he has his hand upon us because, hey, we're still able to operate to some capacity. But eventually it's going to all hit us. And we're going to be stable. We're going to have to be. It says men's hearts fell in them for fear, for looking after those things which are coming on the earth. Yeah. So when the grid goes down, all right, people are going to literally be dying from the horrific scenes out here. People are going to be dying from inadequate supply, being famished, okay? The type of judgments the Heavenly Father is going to push out here. And not to mention those demonic spirits that the Heavenly Father is going to allow to release on this place. See, people seem to forget that America is full of demonic spirits too. So when that power goes out, hey, ain't no telling what type of portals they going to open. And it says, and the powers of heaven should be shaken. It says, then they should see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. And when these things begin to come to pass, look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draw nigh. So we at the point now that we're waiting on Yahweh Shai. Because the only thing we're waiting on is the chip. And these blackouts and these opening up the AI centers and all this other stuff, that's going to be the way to accelerate the MOTB. And we are already in World War III, so we're just waiting on this to come to pass. So when the chip come, expect the missiles to be shot off shortly thereafter. I don't get simple and say, oh, well, you said it's going to be shut off the same day. No, I never said that. But hell, it can. Not saying that it will. Probably unlikely. But after the chip is instituted, that's it. We literally are counting down fucking maybe months, if that. But it says, and he spoke to them a parable. Behold, the fig tree and all the trees. When they now shoot forth, ye see now and know of your own selves that summer is now nigh at hand. So likewise, when you see these things come to pass, know ye that the kingdom of Yahweh is at hand, right? So, right, the kingdom is we literally are at the door. So verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass away till all be fulfilled. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my word shall not pass away, talking about this rulership. And take heed to yourselves, lest any time your hearts be overcharged with surfeiting and drunkenness and the cares of this life, which a lot of you Israelites are wrapped up in, so that day come upon you unawares, right? And a lot of people are going to get caught off guard because they're simply not paying attention. It says, for as a snare should it come upon all them that dwell on the face of the whole earth. Watch ye therefore and pray always that ye may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that should come to pass and to stand before the Son of Man. And that's our hope. That's our faith that the Heavenly Father will count us worthy to endure through this, because we got to endure through all this shit. We got to endure through the riots, through the civil unrest, through the economic collapse, World War III, you know, the MOTB, the concentration camps, the persecution. We got to stand strong through all this shit, man. That way we can get our crown, bro. And, hey, it's worth it. Because, hey, we've been praying for this place to go down. Hey, and you people, you don't know what's getting ready to hit you. One more precept, 2 Ezra 15. And this is for guys like Mike Adams. It says here, 56, it says, like as thou hast always done to my chosen, so shall the Lord, it said the Lord, even so shall Yahweh do unto thee, and shall deliver thee into mischief. Because at the end of the day, man, all you devils had a hand in our captivity. It says, thy children shall die of hunger, and thou shalt fall through with the sword, and thy city shall be broken down, and thine shall perish with the sword in the field. So all you homesteaders, you countrymen out there with all you bragging about all your fucking land you got, that's the field. It says that here, you should be perished with the sword in the field, because guess what? You're going to have government operatives coming out there too and warring with you. And you're going to have jakes out there, man. And then a lot of you just going to turn against each other, and you're going to do yourselves in. So don't think because you got a podcast full of Edomites that agree with you. Look, at the end of the day, it's going to be a dog-eat-dog world. And it says, and they that be in the mountain shall die of hunger and eat their own flesh, cannibalism, and drink their own blood for the very hunger of bread and the thirst of water. So, hey, this shit is through, man. And it says, and thou as unhappy should come through the sea and should receive plagues again. And in that passage they should rush on an idle city and should destroy some portion of thy land and consume the part of thy glory and should return to Babylon that which is destroyed. So at the end of the day, it's a lose-lose situation because this place is going to get hit. And that's what Esau is not banking on. He's not banking on America being destroyed and thermonuclear fire. This place is going to get smoked, man. And we right there. Like Apostle R said, we counting down months, man. I wouldn't even say years because years don't feel like years no more. We already in freaking August, man. And the year just started yesterday. So when he say months, think of it in terms as how fast time goes. Because, I mean, shit, clearly we getting ready to go into another year and the missiles ain't dropped yet. So don't be simple. Like you said, months. Years feel like months, man. And they're technically still months, bro. 12 months is still months. Just take the year off. But regardless of it, it's going to come quick. But with that, Lord's will you edify to the next lesson. Shalom.